Hey everybody, I'm back. Um, so I've been sick for a couple days. Don't know what I caught. Was not good. Um, and I've been worn down from that. So that's why there's no posting on that end. But the major part of the video, I want to try to, I don't know, explain what happened because I think that on top of being sick, I was kind of having a manic episode for a couple days, and that's why my emotions have been so messed up. So I kind of want to explain how it feels to me to be bipolar and to live with it. Um, I figured it might be able to help somebody else, because people do struggle with it. Um, so, first off, I think I was having this episode without really even realizing it, um, which is weird considering I'm totally fine now, but that's how it works. Um, so, I had a pretty bad breakup a couple of months ago, and all this time since then, however long it's been, I'm not counting. Um, I've been working like 6 days a week, and so one thing about bipolar is people will be like, "Oh, it happens A B super quick." Not necessarily always the case. Um, some people, they can have it actually compound over time, and it can be one of those things where you're sitting there and you're like, oh, I feel fine, or something bothers you and you're mildly upset about it, but you get over it, whatever, and then, you go on with your day. But, like, even with that, people who are bipolar, they can have this build over time, and even if they feel fine, everything is good, um, it can build up over time, and it can, like, just go boom in a minute, not even, and it can be really bad for, days and weeks at a time, depending on how bad the episode is for the person. Um, so, yeah, that aspect of it's not fun because sometimes it feels like a time bomb. Like you're not sure when it's going to go off. But I think all those combined elements is what led up to that emotionally, at least for the last couple days for me. Um, Now, I'm not saying it, isn't really out there, but I don't think that everybody knows that there's more than one type of bipolar disorder, and there's type 1, which that's what I am. So, in my case, I can go super depressive, and that can last, like I said, days, weeks, more, depending. And then the other side of it, you get mania, and it's super drastic, and it's anger, or it can just be poor decision making. You feel like you're too wired up, stuff like that. But mostly when you're manic, there's a high potential to get volatile. So, like, type 1 goes boom, 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 like this, but it's basically we will have periods where we stay like this. Now, someone who's type 2 bipolar, they are bouncing up and down, up and down, up and down all the time. It's like for them, right? They don't stay in either side of the spectrum for too long. Like a type 1 person. A type 1 person, they'll stay that way. So if they're depressed, they can stay that way for a while. But a type 2 person, they're all the time between the two, and it really doesn't stop. Um, for me, when I get manic, the the best way I can describe it is it's like the closest things I come up with is it feels like your brain's on fire, or you're being smacked with a taser in the skull a bunch of times repeatedly, but it's not like necessarily a physical feeling, if that makes sense. It's more of an attack on your brain, and it's like by yourself. Like you're questioning everything you do. You're paranoid about stuff. You are just off the rails trying to figure out every aspect, every detail of every little thing. And like this can make you get caught and feel like you're stuck in a loop, and it is not a fun feeling at all whatsoever. Like it will just boom, boom, boom. Your thoughts will race, 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 and it's the next thing. It's the next why, the next if, the next how of whatever scenario is freaking you out, and ugh, it's terrible. That's the easiest way I can put it. Is it's terrible, and it feels like somebody is hitting you in the head with a taser a bunch of times, or it feels like your brain is cooking on fire or something inside your skull. And all the racing thoughts, it goes just so rapidly. It's not even funny. Like you can just swing back and forth so easy, you know. And if it gets super bad, you know, those people won't even want to get out of bed, which is somewhat what I do sometimes, not entirely, but it's not a fun feeling whatsoever, and it is kind of a living hell to deal with, honestly. But eventually, you find a way to get through it. But it's tough for sure, and it's hard. But um, on a side note, uh, I started doing research a little more about it, and one thing I found that was fairly interesting that I didn't know, and no one's ever told me. I was like, this is so weird. But I mean, it kind of makes sense in a weird way, at least to me, because yeah, it's lit up in here, but generally it's not. That light over there is only on because the one above me is, and it just died the other day. But it was weird because I was watching a video I had found, and I guess they did some research by like hitting people with bipolar disorder, like with different colors of light, and in the end of it, they discovered that somehow bipolar people are more sensitive to blue light, which that makes a lot of sense as to why I really don't like outside. Most of the sunlight that comes down from the sun is blue light, so that's kind of a factor right there. I thought that was interesting. you know, and that must be why I like darker areas opposed to brighter ones. I'm not saying it's that way for everybody, but that's what the study said at least. And then I found out about some other thing called dark therapy, and I had been doing this subconsciously, or I guess just as a behavior, you know, of the disorder without knowing it for years now at this point. But so there's this weird instance, and this is going to be a weird comparison, but I guess this is what happens. or it's one thing that can happen, I should say. Basically, there's something called non-circadian 24, and that is a disorder where blind people, they their internal clock gets out of whack because they're not really able to tell day from night. And I guess there is a similar like body clock issue that we have that I was not aware of, and this dark therapy is supposed to help it, and I've been doing it for at least when I get like that. When I've been up for days on end, it does at least work for me. Like I said, it's not. It could be different for other people, but um, basically, with bipolar people, we will like get so out of whack after a couple days of sleep deprivation, whatever, or general exhaustion that our internal clock gets off. Not that your internal clock's not going to get off normally if you don't sleep, but I guess ours is like amplified. And I can definitely say that I've personally experienced this a bunch of times, and it's never fun when it happens because usually I don't really sleep, if I sleep at all, sometimes for 3 or 4 days, before I finally, just absolutely can't do it anymore. And so I guess what they recommend with dark therapy is you need to completely like non-stimulate yourself, and it essentially it helps your body's rhythm get back into order, but at the same time, in a weird way, you're kind of tricking it, you know, to go back to where it needs to go. And if I do that and I black everything out when I'm having one of those and it's just super bad, then it tends to help. But everybody's different. So, but I'm gonna get off of here. I got stuff to do. Just wanted to give some kind of insight. Figured it might help somebody, you know, if they stumble upon my video. Sorry for the jump cut there, guys. There was some things I thought of afterwards, real quick. So with the dark therapy, you basically want to completely non-stimulate yourself. And I forgot to say that you want to black the room out and just nothing. You know what I mean? It's not for everybody, like I said, and you don't want to stay in it forever because obviously you don't want to make your depression worse. But yeah, so that's something I forgot on that note. And then on the side of, when people who are bipolar get depressed, um, it can really mess with your drive, your initiative, your motivation, whatever you want to call it. Like in my case the other day, I've still been trying to write music, finish my other projects. I got 2 songs that I wrote that I want to do visualizer, music video things for, and you know, when I was like that, it was just like I'd sit there, I'd try to do something, work with it, work on it, whatever, and 15, 20 minutes into it, boom, all the negative thoughts come back, whatever, and it's just so invasive to the point where you lose your drive, and it's just like you don't want to do it anymore. You don't want to do anything anymore. You don't want to be around anybody. But yeah. So those were just some side notes. But I'm gonna get off here. So you guys take it easy and have a good day.